Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball, So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Good morning, good morning. It's Dr. Cavil's Inside HBCU Sports Lab with the team. We're back for our fall edition. We're gonna try to give you some extra today, but we got the regular team together on Sunday to break down what happened on Saturday this week, some early HBCU football in week 0. So we're going to give you all you need. Welcome to episode 297 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs. Most importantly, the business of HBCU sports, and we've had a lot of that talk lately. We'll also give you in some HBCU sports pedagogy, right? Well, we just break it down in a way that most people can't. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-hosts, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and BJ Jones. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to you in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University. You know I got to get the paycheck in there. With that being, today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab was sponsored by THG Agency LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. Let me go through the roll call. Charles, I know you've been up bright and early. Say you got on an early bike ride. How you doing this morning, man?
I'm doing well, Doc. I had to get that early bike ride in this morning because I knew we were coming on, but feels good to get back out there, get back in the mix, and get that cardio going.
Mike said he did something. I don't know if it was a bike ride. Mike, how you doing this morning?
Oh, pretty good, man. No, I wasn't. I'm unlike CB. I didn't get my bike ride in this morning. I had some other stuff to take care of, but it's good. Some good football, interesting football play this weekend. So glad to be here this morning with you fine gentlemen. I'm just honored to be on the same stage or the same microphone as BJ Jones and CB. I mean, you're talking two perennial stars, man. I'm just here. I'm a fly on the wall.
That was a good one. That's how we start the season off.
Yeah, that's how we're gonna do it today. He's no longer on assignment, so we're gonna come back in like that. Well, I tell you. With that being said, without further ado, we have the football guru, as Mike likes to call it. BJ Jones, how you doing today?
Man, doing good, man. We see we got worldwide Mike. He's that. man, doing good, man. Anytime, man, you get opportunity, man. Yesterday to see some HBCU ball, man, is a good day.
Yeah, that's very true. But before we go further, I would like to say condolence to you and your family. Stay strong. We're here. If you need anything, please let us know.
I appreciate that, Doc.
Yeah. Most certainly. So you know how we jump it off with the preseason updates. Number 1, South Carolina State Bulldogs, and this is according to Dr. Cavil's preseason major division top 10 poll rankings. It is week 0, so we didn't have a lot of games, but we had some games, and we chopped some of that meat off the fat, if you said, or fat off that meat, so we can digest it as we go to class. At number 1, we have South Carolina State. The reigning champions, according to the poll rankings that I released with this team here. They start next Saturday, September the 3rd. Number 2, Jackson State Tigers season starts next Sunday, September the 4th. And they will play number 3, Florida A&M Rattlers. But the Rattlers kicked it off. There are a lot of news in the lie about them, and we'll get a chance to break that down a little bit. But they lose to North Carolina, Tar Heels 56-24. But the game was much closer to that for most of it, and you certainly seen the Rattlers do what they do, which a lot of people might not expect it with everything going down. We'll get into that a little bit more later on. Number 4, Alabama A&M Bulldogs. Their season starts next Thursday, September the 1st. Number 5, North Carolina A&T State Aggie season starts next Saturday, September the 3rd. Number 6, Alcorn State Braves season starts Saturday, September the 3rd. As well as number 7, the North Carolina Central Eagles season starts Saturday, September 3rd. We have a top 10 matchup, which will feature 5 and 7 in the Duke Mayo Classic. So I'm fascinated about that. They're talking about great season ticket sales. I think they're talking about over 30,000, and they may have to open up the upper deck. We saw that take place for the HBCU marching sport with the National HBCU Battle of the Bands here in Houston. I'll give you some breakdowns on what I saw on that. Who took the house on those bands that may have taken the house. We'll give you a little love there. Alabama State Hornets defeat Howard Bison 23-13. A weird game there with several stoppages as storms came in Atlanta. But they did play it out. But everybody kind of followed as they had the late lightning strike with 2-some minutes left in the game. They were going to play it, but then maybe they weren't going to play it. And we'll talk some detail of what happened there. But that is the final. 23-13 Alabama State Hornets. Got it done for the SWAC. Coach Eddie George in his debut, he said he wanted to bring some what he thought the SWAC should have had. A lot of people had Howard Bison doing well, not so much there. So we'll talk some more about that as well. Number 10, Norfolk State Spartan season start Saturday, September 3rd. I don't want to necessarily get into the breakdowns, but based on the 2 major division matchups, I'm going to start with you, Charles. Which one of those stood out the most to you and why?
Obviously, I think Florida A&M and North Carolina stood out for me because of the late adversity that Florida A&M had to go through. But you talk about a team that really showed themselves extremely well against a Power 5 team yesterday. Extremely impressed by quarterback Jeremy Moose and his performance for the Rattlers. But, that game was a tight game. It might have hinged on a coaching decision, whether you agree or not agree, whatever the case might be. Turnover happened right before half. It kind of changed the momentum of the game a little bit to me. But I was extremely impressed by Florida A&M yesterday. Moose completing passes to, I believe, 10 different receivers. That was what stood out for me in terms of looking at the Rattlers. And, just not having those players, not having that depth, might have caught up there in the second half, not getting a pass rush. But I have to say, the Rattlers stood out. That was a great game in my eyes yesterday.
Charles does what he does. He give you the total breakdown. I said we're going to go in detail later. Just some general
those are my general thoughts. I
hate to see what you go in the breakdown. He's going to give you some real extras and O's. That's Mike here, data point. Thank you, Charles, and all seriously. Good information there, and I agree with those points. Mike, in terms of you, just in general, those 3 games, which one stood out to you and why?
I'm actually go Florida Memorial game. I was watching that game. I don't know if you had a chance to see, and I don't know if you want to major or mid-major. And if I'm off, forgive me. But I watched that game, and I thought Florida Memorial was going to run away with that game. Seriously. And then all of a sudden, Edward Waters, pulls up, comes from behind, and 321 points. That showed to me that Edward Waters has some heart. We can go, as you say, the details. Charles did what I normally do, so it was nice to see you. You got him like you normally get me. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. But the fact that how competitive that game was with Florida Memorial at the Big Cat Classic, that one stands out. I like the FAMU game, and they hung, but that Florida Memorial Edward Waters game, that stood out to me. That was a big game. It had a very exciting ending and a good way to kick off the season.
Thank you, Mike. But just like Charles, I'm gonna give all of y'all F squared today. Man, I understand. We hadn't got to the mid-major yet. I'm glad that this show today is the excellent doctoral study session. Because if it's a flag, you all would be in trouble. We're going to try this one last time, BJ Jones. In terms of those two games in the major division, which one stood out the best? See if you can stay on point.
Oh man, it was FAMU, North Carolina. FAMU undermanned, and they could have easily just thrown in the towel. Just showed up in Chapel Hill and honestly just got boat race. But that team showed a lot of heart, a lot of passion. They didn't make any excuses, and it just shows you the type of coach and character that Willie Simmons has, and he's built that football team in his own likeness. And I think that FAMU's gonna be okay this year. I think they're gonna be okay.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and BJ Jones. BJ Jones is the only one that knows how to stay on point, so we're going to keep him in the group. We're going to go to this quick break, and it sounds like 12-3 wants to talk about the FAMU, North Carolina A&T. So right after this break, we're going to get in there, North Carolina, Tar Heels, and FAMU. We're going to get in there and talk a little bit more about that in detail. Use some data points, break it down, and see exactly what has these guys so excited about that matchup. We'll talk about Florida Memorial, Edward Waters a little later in the second half of the show. Stick with us after this first break. We'll be right back.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
You see, Head & Shoulders has a scalp shield technology, protects against flakes even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. We're never not working. Number 15?
That's my rub.
Ooh, nice.
Never not working.
Never, ever, never, ever not working.
Welcome everybody to Juneau, Alaska.
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders scalp shield technology.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Five-star backyards, Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine. If it doesn't have this yellow tag, you don't want it.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson, like really loves.
One bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh yeah, it's ballpark season.
Nope.
Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft. Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go, why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
It's never to analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Charles Bishop, Mike Washington, and BJ Jones. We were just talking about the top 10 matchups. We had number 3 in there, FAMU Rattlers at North Carolina, 56-24. But let's get inside some of the numbers and see what happened in that matchup. I'm gonna start back with you, BJ Jones, as you ended off. What were some of the highlights that you seen in that game that you were excited about, or what made that stand out for you?
For me, number one was the FAMU offense. FAMU last year defensively could play with anybody. They were inconsistent at best offensively, and a lot of people felt, no knock on Rashawn McKay, that FAMU was a quarterback away. Well, the quarterback has arrived. Jeremy Musa, he was efficient yesterday, 28 of 38, completing passes to, I think it was 10 different receivers. 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, had the 1 interception right there before the end of the half. But offensively, FAMU looks a lot better than what they did a year ago. Defensively, don't know how many guys they're missing. So Isaiah Lamb was missing last night. A guy who's a pass rush specialist. He was missing last night because they didn't get much of a pass rush on North Carolina. And then defensively, I don't know how much they were missing on that side of the football, but you're not going to win many games giving up 7.9 yards per carry and 314 yards on the ground. So it's going to be interesting to see how does FAMU address that defensively moving forward, and can that offense continue to improve and get some of those linemen back healthy up front.
Going to you, great points there, BJ Jones. In that line, Charles, Jeremy Musa was 28-38, as you said. BJ Jones, 279 yards, 7.3 per pass, 2 touchdowns. Did have that interception, and I think you touched that on a little bit, why you thought that was a tough call in regards to the coach putting him in that position. But give it a little more detail why that was concerning to you in terms of that matchup, in addition of those other comments you made in terms of why this stood out for you.
Well, I mean, and Coach Simmons addressed it. I mean, he said they came there to win the game, and I don't have an issue with that whatsoever. It's just, and probably for me at that point in the game, you're in the game. You know, you have an opportunity to really create some havoc if you can just carry that momentum into the second half. And it was just one of those things that kind of turned the game a little bit on its head, if you will, because momentum is just a funny thing in football. And I thought North Carolina was able to get that interception right before half and kind of blunt anything that FAMU had going on. But, you know, they looked great yesterday. Offensively, they looked great. Jeremy Musa looked poised back there in the pocket. And, you know, not only did he complete, passes to 10 different receivers, but Xavier Smith, the man, for Florida A&M as far as their receiver. He had 10 receptions yesterday. So he was able to get to his go-to man all early and often in that game. So that was things that stood out for me with regards to FAMU's offense. And to BJ's point, you're not sure how many pieces were missing on the defensive side of the ball, but obviously it was lacking from a pass rush standpoint. North Carolina had an opportunity to really run the ball. I think they went for over 300 yards, almost 8 yards a pop on the ground. What's a little bit concerning is FAMU, and you take it with a grain of salt. They're going against a Power 5 team, but they weren't able to run the ball worth too much yesterday. But offensively, they look much better. I think that is a team that's going to really make some noise over there in the SWAC East, especially with Moose behind center.
Yes, as you're alluding to, 27 carries for 56 yards total. They include sacks, so it's a -9 yards on the sacks for that total. But average, as BJ Jones alluded to, was 2.1 and just squeezed in 1 touchdown. They had a longer 21 that helps that average a lot. On the receiving side, I like what you talked about, Xavier Smith. 10 receptions, 78 yards, 7.8 a catch. He had a longer 23. Couldn't get in the end zone, but Trayvonte Davis got in there. A.J. Davis also got in the end zone in terms of reception on the touchdown. And one point in that game, it got to 35-24, and it was a 3rd and 10 late in that game where you was like, is this going to get a little more interesting? You got a late run for a touchdown. You had a turnover, and they kind of exploded, and you saw the game get out of hand, as you both were alluding to also in terms of not having that depth going in the second half, even when you try to get a little bit of that momentum. Did that hurt you? Let me go to you, Mike, and get your thoughts overall, and where are your data points that you're looking at in terms of this matchup?
Yeah, I think BJ and CB have hit a lot of the data points. I mean, you talked about Jeremy Musa and the job he did. I look at it on the other side. He was able to hit his big man, Xavier Smith. But when you can spread the ball like that to 8 or 9 different receivers, that to me, that sends a message. Because now you got Xavier Smith, now you got Trayvonte Davis, now you got Darian Oxendine, you got David you got some viable threats if you are able to at least put the curve on Xavier Smith, and you got a quarterback who can read the offense and get the ball to them. So offensively, given however many folks they have missing, they were able to execute. The one data point I think Charles alluded to was 56 yards rushing. That's not going to do it. So, but that data point of not only him passing, but him spreading the ball like that, folks in the SWAC, beware, because this looks a lot like that team from Alabama A&M that had those three or four receivers that were leading the SWAC a few years back. So looks good. This is a FAMU team I did not expect, but as BJ alluded to, they were 1 quarterback away. They found a quarterback. They have the weapons. So this looked good. They're still going to be formidable in the SWAC in 2022. Make no bones about it.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating when you talk about this matchup closing out on this. But how do you take what you saw yesterday into next week's matchup against Jackson State, including the fact that you're not aware of whether they'll get any more people eligible? And we'll get a chance to talk about this more on Thursday for you, Mike, and Charles. But BJ Jones, can you take anything out of this in terms of that matchup next week? Or what do you look at in terms of the matchup next week when they play Jackson State in Miami?
Man, the biggest thing is, can FAMU build on what they did on last night? I know that we'll talk about the 56 yards rushing that they had offensively and didn't do a spectacular job there. I will also say this. North Carolina has 4 and 5 stars, top defensive linemen in the state of North Carolina up there on that defensive line. They got 2 5-star defensive ends, 4-star defensive tackles. Those are some Sunday play guys. They might not see another defensive line like that. Jackson State got some names up there too, albeit young, but I think that front 7 that they saw last night might be one of the roughest that they'll see. But it's all about building for FAMU, building. And how many of those guys last night that got banged up, particularly on the offensive line, can you get back? And then, man, just hoping and praying that you can get some of those guys back that you were missing last night for next week. And I'm not sure what has to happen in order for that to take place. But I mean, I'm already interested in that ball game. That ball game was already circled anyway, but after last night, man, it's definitely circled.
Yeah, I think the news came out Thursday and Friday. Everybody was like, that next week ain't gonna be nothing. Now all of a sudden people are back into having some interest, maybe from a different perspective. Charles, I did want to come to you before we got too far, but I want to ask you, because you're embedded, being able to do the pregame show, but I want to ask you from this perspective. With that game being on tape, what do you see Jackson State coaching staff being able to do to prepare because of what their ability is to look at game tape and create a game plan? How do you see that taking place?
I have a tremendous amount of confidence in what Jackson State's coaches are able to adjust in what they're able to see from Florida A&M. And the thing that kind of stood out for me yesterday is just from the standpoint of, was FAMU's offense, were they looking at anything exotic yesterday? Were they looking at anything that was beyond the pale with regards to your base defense? I think Jackson State's defensive schematics next week for Florida A&M, if you will, they're going to mix things up quite a bit, and they're going to try to get home to Musa and make him uncomfortable back there. So those are the things that just kind of stood out for me with regards to how Jackson State was able to look at some of the things FAMU was able to do against North Carolina yesterday.
Thank you for that, Charles. Yeah, I'm interested in that behind-the-scenes matchup with the tape, and I knew you could really bring us that particular, because you have, as BJ Jones talked about, particular matchups. Do you get people back? You know, the confidence that you have, that is important. But then you also have the coaching side of it, schematics, you know, and this is kind of that back and forth we talked about. Does it help you play in week 0 or hurt you? And you can go back and forth, but the way that you broke it down in that framework, you two, is important. I want to go to you, Mike, lastly, quickly, before we go to our second break. Is just what data points do you look at when you're trying to create a framework to tell the people things to look for?
Yeah, so going into next week's matchup, here's kind of what I look for. And you were right. Once everybody saw that information come up, the Twitterverse, the IG, they went crazy. Oh, the Orange Bowl Classic, the Orange Blossom Classic. There you go. And then after the first half, they were like, all right, this is back on. What did they see that changed that quick? This is a roller coaster. What did people see that changed that? And I think Jackson State's looking at, okay, this kid Musa's for real. He can spread the ball. What kind of defense am I going to put up against him? I don't know what players he's going to have back. If you know with Coach Simmons, even going back to his days of Prairie View, he coaches on all sides of the ball. I think Xavier Smith had one return. Wasn't for much. I look for him to do more to get that third phase of the game more in length, and that's the punt return. That is just a notorious characteristic of Coach Simmons. So I look for him to do something in that. I don't know what it is, but you got to give Coach Simmons some coaching creed, some cred on his ability to get that phase involved. So Jackson State, they're going to look at that pass. They're going to look at that tape. Hey, this is against North Carolina. This BJ said it. This is 4- and 5-star folks. I look for that running back, that running game to not be as bad as it appeared on paper. So I'm going to be prepared, but I'm also going to look at that passing attack now.
Great points by all of y'all talking about the game last week and getting a little sneak preview in the next Sunday, I should say. It'll be interesting. We'll take a deeper dive throughout the week on the different shows, so continue to listen. Into our second break, stick with us. We'll be right back as we come back and break down the SWAC Challenge with weird in terms of just how it had to be played. We'll talk about maybe how that affects both teams and just your thoughts. I think there is another quarterback in the SWAC that may be a problem for some teams, or at least keep things interesting. We'll take a deeper dive to give you some updates and see what these gentlemen think about Dominique Davis.
North Shore.
North Shore.
North Shore.
We'll be right back out of this second break. Thank you. Stick with us.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit HBCUPrideJoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
You see, Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. We're never not working. Number 15?
That's my rub.
Ooh, nice.
Never not working.
Never, ever, never, ever not working.
Welcome everybody to Juneau, Alaska.
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders scalp shield technology.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
For 5-star backyards, Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine. If it doesn't have this yellow tag, you don't want it.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
Test the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
A little bit of soccer. This is Dr. Ville with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Getting into the SWAC Challenge Celebration Bowl, Black Panther 2, as the commentators kept talking about the ancestors and different things of that nature. People had questions in regards to why it was Tiffany on the field. I tweeted out a little bit that a lot of this is contractual and people may not realize it. Not saying I like it, but if we're going to push for this, we need to talk about elevating Tiffany and Jay, getting them a sideline reporter. Charles, we might put you in the mix, see if you're interested in doing some sideline, see if we can get a fan folks to push that and get them elevated on the platform. If you look at contractual arrangements, you have ABC, ESPN, and ESPN2, and they have a list of like 10 folks that are on that list that have that assignment to do those Saturday games that are on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN2, as I alluded to, and they have the first rights. If you do not have them on a Saturday platform, you're in violation of their contract that they signed for ESPN to do those games. You look on that same link that breaks down who does games. You have Tiffany and Jay sideline and listed for ESPNU games, which is usually where HBCU games are all on, and as the HBCU game folks. And you have the play-by-play, the color, and the reporter. Saturday games with HBCUs, they don't have a sideline reporter. It's just Tiffany and Jay. So this is a combination crew, but the first crew that's on the spot are the ones that contractually get it. And so that's why you see the difference as they add Jay and Tiffany in there. And so she's as talented. She has the ability to do the sideline reporting as well. But just to give you some insight in terms of that, this is not just a decision that can be made where they're sliding, Tiffany. It's a contractual arrangement. Whether you like it or not, I just at least wanted to make sure that you're informed about what's going on out there. Let's get back more into the game and what you saw off and on. The biggest concern there was lightning days. I was getting text on the second half. We'll bring in AD Drew. He was at the game, and he'll give us a little more insight in terms of just how that felt. And folks covering the game, fans, they were tired, so I could only imagine what that looks like in terms of trying to do that. Talk to BJ Jones being on the college field, see if he's ever experienced that. Talk to Mike and Charles as they played high school. Did they even experience it at the high school level? Obviously, they've seen it as fans. So we'll get into that breakdown. But I'm going to start with you, Mike, in terms of this go-around. What were your thoughts on this game? 3 lightning strikes. 2 minutes left was the last lightning strike. You're going into 1 o'clock in the morning. They were joking. It's SWAC Challenge After Dark. That's a spin-off, as y'all know, for the Pac-12, 10, whatever you want to call it, Pac-8 right now. They in flux with so much going on. And people joke about that after dark, but it is a television spot they have. So it uniquely keeps them in a position stronger than some people think. A little less about the business. Mike, what were your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, well, just one thing. If it, I saw some social media, and they were like, they took a picture of the game before it started, in between lightning strikes, and then at the end, and they say, man, this is just like some events you go to. You got the main event, then you got the old folks going home, and then you got other folks. Then by the time you get to the end, that's the after. So social media is undefeated. So my takeaways, I think it was a roller coaster of emotions that the players were going through. They were ready to get on the field. You prepared for this moment. It's on a big stage. And all of a sudden, hurry up, you get started. Hurry up, lightning, hurry up, wait. Now you've got, I think the first span was like an hour or so. You know, the coach had to, talk to them. BJ, you've been there. You got foot and they're ready to go and they can't get on the field and play. So you have a downswing in your emotions. Then you get back on the field it up and then it's down. So you got a roller coaster of events. This is the first game. You're always going to have jitters. You saw some of the plays. There were, some kinks to knock out as the season gets older. So you had all of that stuff going on, but you had some questions answered. Alabama State, if this was an FBI thing, they're going to be a problem. D. Davis, oh my God, his escapability. You heard reports that he was good. I'm from the state of Texas, so I saw him play at North Shore. But his ability, his escapability, I saw some plays. But when my HUDDLE was still working, and I didn't have to fast forward and look at several plays. His escapability is amazing. It brings you to several quarterbacks of past, great quarterbacks, and he was able to extend plays. They knock out some of the kinks in the execution of that offense, and Alabama State's going to be a problem for a lot of teams. So that was my first major takeaway. There are others, and I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic and let others go in. But that roller coaster of emotions and that quarterback play from D. Davis, it's as advertised.
Charles, we've seen this a couple of years ago with that lightning delay that happened for the Labor Day Classic a couple of years ago. That was just annoying, and I guess this to some degree was annoying. But whether you want to go in the direction in terms of how you tried to watch the game based on the lightning or some key things in the game that has you excited. Obviously, Demetrius Davis, you're familiar in the Houston area with North Shore. Overall, what are your thoughts on that game that took place where Alabama State got it done for the SWAC, 23-13?
Well, first and foremost, this was huge for the SWAC to go up against a MEAC team and to get a victory. It has been a rough sledding for the SWAC versus the MEAC, especially in this MEAC SWAC Challenge Celebration Bowl. So kudos for Alabama State for carrying the banter of the SWAC, if you will, and getting that win. Whenever you have weather, especially all of us from the South know this, August, September, this is just part of the reality. I'm not a climate denier. This is going to be the reality from here on out. Weather delays, and now because of player safety, and we know more now. You're going to have that 30-minute delay after you see lightning strike. So it adds to sort of the herky-jerkiness of watching it. So I can only imagine what those players were going through in terms of being up, then back down, and things of that nature. But last night, the country got an opportunity to see what we saw here in Houston for quite some time. Anytime Demetrius Davis is mentioned in the same breath with the Vince Young from yesteryear, with Kyler Murray at Allen. He's the real deal. And there are certain football players who have this sort of swagger about them that first person is going to miss. Like, there's no way one person is going to tackle me. He has that. And that's one of the things that I have noticed with him since the sophomore at North Shore to now. That first person is not going to be able to get their hands on him. You have to game tackle him. He can, and then the other part about him that I think the rest of the conference will see, he is still an accurate passer on the move. That's one of the things that you will notice with him with regards to not only keeping his head downfield, but staying accurate. And that's an attribute that not a lot of quarterbacks have. So this was a huge win for Alabama State. I think one of those wins that gets this program jumped off in the right direction.
A lot of great points there. Go to BJ Jones. Obviously, most people are familiar with you with Southern. If not that, your ties to Alabama, Huntsville area, living in Atlanta. Even some people see you from that perspective. But the hidden truth, people don't realize that you got a little bit of Texas in you, coming out of that North Texas area, Dallas Metroplex. And so you're familiar with the talent in Texas, the great high school programs. And I'm sure you, like most of us, have one eye in terms of what's going on in Texas. So even though you see it in Dallas, obviously Duncanville SOC will sneak a little bit of that in, as you have the head coach from South Oak Cliff connected to Texas Southern University when you talk about HBCU ties. But we're deep down in Houston with North Shore quarterback Demetrius Davis. But I want to talk more about Howard. You can sneak it in if you want the other part. But Howard had a lot of momentum that they thought they come into the season. How does this dampen that any? Can they still get back off the mat? What are your thoughts in terms of what does this do for the MEAC Howard, as they wanted to make their own statement, and it seems like Alabama State was able to do it, or lack of Howard making theirs? Where you want to go when you look at this matchup?
Man, really, it's Howard. Man, I talked to some Howard people during the week on last week, and they were just saying that, hey, man, we look at this game as an opportunity to show the world where we are as a program. We're tired of being the butt of the jokes. Howard is the Vanderbilt of the MEAC, and so forth, and so forth. And they were chomping at the bit at this ball game. And in the early going, Howard looked pretty good. Howard had an opportunity to go up, and they were getting ready to go up. I think it was 14-0 or 14-3, and you got that interception right there on the edge of the red zone that kind of flipped momentum. Howard did some things okay yesterday. They did run the ball for 127 yards on 31 carries. They were not effective in the pass game. Quinn Williams, senior quarterback, 17 of 32, only 141 yards, no touchdown passes, and an interception. Alabama State was able to limit Howard to 268 total yards. And when it mattered, they could not get Alabama State off the field. So when you look at that for Howard, man, they got to go back to the drawing board. The season is long, and tell everybody, man, this is chess, it ain't checkers. So we'll see how they improve moving forward.
So many good points, guys. We're getting into our third break of the first hour, if you would. We'll have a changeover, so stick with us. We are going to get a little bit in that Florida Memorial, Edward Waters, as we come back on top of it. But with that being said, I have to talk about Davis. You said his feet. One of the biggest plays was plays he didn't make, where he looks like he was sacked dead to right, rolls out to the right after escaping, finds somebody downfield, because he could have ran. He wouldn't have got the first down, but he could have got more yards, at least made it interesting. He throws to a guy that actually, in my opinion, was probably pass interfered with, that they did not call, and he still put the ball right there in a position where he could make a play. The guy got there early and was able to defend it. Credit to Howard Bison but I thought it was a pass interference. But that really tells you an example of how Charles said, and you all alluded to as well, how he uses his feet to keep plays open, but he looks downfield, not just to run. So, yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what this looks and trends the rest of the season. Stick with us as we give you our last segment in the first hour. We'll be right back after this break. Talk a little bit about Florida Memorial Edward Waters.
One bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh, yeah, it's ballpark season.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember. They can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody.
Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go, why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
You see, Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. We're never not working. Number 15?
That's my rub.
Ooh, nice.
Never not working.
Never, ever, never, ever not working.
Welcome everybody to Juneau, Alaska.
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders scalp shield technology.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
That was pretty.
This Dr. Bill inside HBCU Sports Lab, man. A little off the mic talk. We're gonna hold it to the self. I don't want to get nobody in trouble. But great commentary by these guys. They bring it on and off the mic. With that being said, we wanted to get a little bit into this Florida Memorial Edward Waters matchup. It looked like Florida Memorial was just going to run away with it, and I'm back and forth. The next time I look up, it ends up being a game, and that's what rivalries end up happening. But I'm fascinated about this matchup. BJ Jones, tell me a little bit about what were your thoughts in terms of Edward Waters?
I mean, the first thing that I saw was, oh man, Florida Memorial was putting it on them. Put some things in our chat like, man, how can I watch this? Went in and pulled it up. I mean, Florida Memorial was putting it on them. And this is something I could not understand for me, for the life of me. Florida Memorial's defensive line looked like they averaged maybe 230 or 240 across the line of scrimmage. And I am screaming the whole time, run the ball down their throats! Let's run it! and I mean, I was screaming the entire time, man, but the Florida Memorial, man, jumped on them. Man, I actually turned the game off and then went back and checked, and someone said, oh, man, there was coming back. And I looked at it, I was like, man, there's no way. So I don't know how it happened. Came in and caught the tail end of it, man, and Edward Waters almost pulled this thing off. So, man, great ball game. Nice to see, man. There was a lot of kids. This is the thing about Florida Memorial. There was a lot of kids that I saw at least last few signing days that signed with FAMU for whatever reason, maybe weren't able to make it in the school that's on that Florida Memorial roster. So you better not sleep on this football team, even though they're just in their second year of existence.
So for those that may have turned it off and on, give you a little insight. Florida Memorial jumps out in the first quarter, puts up 13 spot. They come back in the second quarter and put up another 13. And this is while they're holding Edward Waters scoreless. So it goes in half 26-0. They come back. You finally get Edward Waters on the board with 7 in the third. So it's basically a tell of two halves in a lot of ways. But then you have Florida Memorial respond. So you're like, 32-7. All of a sudden, you get Edward Waters puts up 2 more touchdowns. So in the third quarter, they outscore Florida Memorial 21-6, and the score is 32-21. Fourth quarter comes in, Edward Waters puts up a touchdown, so it's 32-28, and all of a sudden, game is on. But then you have Florida Memorial put out a little more breathing room, puts up another touchdown, if you would, goes up 39-28, and essentially holds on 39-24 with 2 minutes and 17 left in the game and just hold it out. Mike, what are your thoughts in terms of this up and down, 2 halves essentially of the matchup between Florida Memorial down there in Miami Gardens, Florida? Go ahead, Mike.
2 things. I had only seen Florida Memorial like either in person or on TV play a game, and this was a third. The thing that BJ was the size of the line. I was like, okay, why are we running? I mean, you look at it, Florida Memorial had 382 yards passing total. They had 150 yards rushing. Edward Waters really outrushed them, 280 to 150. So that, and then again, data point pause, 26-0 at halftime. And you have that kind of lopsided numbers in, passing and rushing. The second game is what did you tell Florida Memorial in the halftime? So I would love to have been a fly on that wall. And then what'd you tell Edward Waters? My third takeaway from that is watch out for Florida Memorial. They're going to be a team to be bargained with. I was impressed. They were executing. Yes, Edward Water came back, but there were a lot of executional blunders on the part of Florida Memorial. So I say watch out for this Florida Memorial team. They're going to pick up more and more players. They're going to garner more eyes. So I was like, this is a team clearly on the uptick. That's a lot to take away from the game, but that's what I saw with the quality of players they had, wide receivers, running backs. So.
Yeah, you see B.J. Jones, he's trying to be nice and polite like Charles Bishop was earlier. Florida Memorial travels to Southern next week, so it'll be interesting to see that. But, Mike, I know you're talking about really their NIA opponents in Division II. I'm just kidding, but that out there. Antoine Williams was 25 completions, 382 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Charles, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, the thing for me, I looked at the score about midway through the second quarter. So, okay, I can go ahead and book my tea time now. So I like BJ. I lost interest, and then I get to about the third hole, and I look, check my phone, and I look and see the score. I'm like, what just happened here? So that was, what was going through my head with this game. But to both of you guys' points, Florida Memorial has a lot of talent on the field, a lot of speed. And that was one of the things that really jumped out, and it's like, this is that South Florida speed that they're talking about. Absolutely. And BJ, interesting point, for whatever reason, not at FAMU, but found their way to Florida Memorial. And it's a talented bunch, 382 yards passing, over 150 yards rushing. So high octane offense that gets to put it on the road next week in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, great points. Before we end this first half of the show, thought it was important to sneak in. We had 2 African-American high school coaches that are top 25 in the nation, certainly top 5 in top 10 in Texas in a lot of ways. That's Duncanville, playing at the 6A level, been right there, bridesmaids in a lot of ways for a championship, as they can't get over that North Shore hurdle that a lot of us are talking about, including Demetrius Davis in terms of what he gets done. But then you had South Oak Cliff that won the 5A championship as an urban inner city, i.e. black high school for those over the last couple of years in that matchup. Reason we bring that up in terms of HBCUs, not just in terms of what they're doing, but the Texas Southern, head coach of South Oak Cliff is a Southern graduate, came down here to Houston for the PVIL Coaches Association, got an award in terms of what he was able to revitalize. And a lot of DISD people, they talked about in that show how the principal, and he was part of that, gave everybody in the high school connected with that program state championship medallions, necklaces as they do in that part. So it's fascinating. But I know, BJ Jones, you talked a little bit about some concerns on some coaching decisions that may have allowed that game to get away from South Oak Cliff. Credit to Duncanville to get it done. But, yeah, thought that was fascinating when you touched on that. So I did want to share that. Maybe we'll get some of your thoughts, BJ Jones, in the second part as we come back. Charles, anything you want to say quickly on that?
Hey, it was a great opening week of football in week 0. Alabama State, kudos to them. Kudos to their fan base, Howard fan base for getting down there to the SWAC MEAC Challenge despite, inclement weather. Kudos to FAMU. Despite the adversity that came down on their program, they showed up and showed out against UNC. It's going to be a great Orange Blossom Classic next week against Jackson State.
Mike, any last thing that you want to share?
No, kudos again to the SWAC MEAC Challenge. Despite all the obstacles, I think they were able to get 20,000 or so folks in. I think CB mentioned it earlier. It was good to see a lot of Alabama State jerseys in the stands. You expect Howard to have some kind of showing, but they pretty folks. They're pretty folks. They probably had a big screen TV up in the executive suite. They probably had their little star power roll through, but they showed up. So I was just happy to see that too as well. So I was happy to see kind of the emergence of some players, Musa, D. Davis. These are players you're going to look forward to. It should make that Orange Blossom Classic. I'm glad it's looking like it's going to look now, where you're going to have a battle, all right, on the field. So those are my takeaways. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Great opening weekend of football. Can't get enough of the Florida Memorial game. That one, I thought it was like men and boys. Thought it was a runaway. So great way to start the beginning of the year.
BJ Jones, I know you're going to stick with this. We're going to take a last break here in terms of the first half. As I will say this, it sounds like the Eastern Division just got that more interesting. I know we got the King of the Hill. It may not change, but everywhere else in there. Be interesting to see if the West can step it up. BJ Jones says, yeah, just wait. We got a team down there in Southern Baton Rouge that plans to do just that. Stick with us. This should be an interesting season. We'll give you more on the second half. This is our last break. For those that can, stick with us. We'll be right back as we exit out Charles and Mike. We'll bring in the second part of the team, and we'll keep it going. We'll stay with us as we come back for another hour. Thank you.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Five-star backyards, Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine. If it doesn't have this yellow tag, you don't want it.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon. So now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like really loves.
One bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh yeah, it's ballpark season.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember. They can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin.
Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody.
Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more. But it's so absorbent, you can use less. So it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, yeah, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab for the special edition. This Sunday as we open things up in week 0, giving you 2 hours of full information here. We've added in AD Drew, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop had to go back on assignment. I think Charles had a little golf tee. You know how he does. Mike Washington had to get ready to get on the plane as he does moving around, or is it picking somebody off the plane? I don't know. Mike is always, as BJ Jones said, the world traveler. We'll see if we can fix all that. But BJ Jones, as we went into break, we talked a little bit about South Oak Cliff and Duncanville. I did want to give you a chance to give your thoughts on that matchup as we had the HBCU ties with the head coach over there from Texas Southern coaching South Oak Cliff. 2 big ball programs. South Oak Cliff raising to the top last year. Duncanville's been right on the edge. Great to have on television 2 African-American coaches at high school leading their program out of the state of Texas, which many people have perennial power. You saw all the talent on the field in terms of those that have offers from some major programs. What are your thoughts in terms of what took place there?
Man, it was big. As a guy that's from Arlington, Texas, I'm from the 817, Tarrant County.
There it is. I told y'all.
And man, just to see that, growing up there, man, back in the days when we had Carter and Skyline, and some of those teams up in Dallas that were really solid. There's been a buzz about this game all summer. And people were talking about it all week last week, man. If you looked at the crowd, man, I think it was a sellout. Man, everyone that, in the DFW area, man, black, man, this was like the Super Bowl. And it was great to see it. It was something that we needed in the DFW. We kind of know what transpired in the youth game, a few weeks ago. It was something that we needed that was positive. And, the thing about it is, man, for so long, particularly in the DFW, we've lost a lot of our inner city talent that have gone to, Seguin and, some of the other schools, going out to Mansfield and, just some of the other schools that we've lost kids to. And to see, inner city, South Oak Cliff, Duncanville, while not inner city, it ain't the Duncanville that it used to be when we lived out in Texas. It ain't that Duncanville anymore. Duncanville has changed from a demographic standpoint, but to put on a heck of a game and have that much talent on the football field, man, it was just a great thing for the DFW. So, man, if you're in, Dallas County, Tarrant County, man, anywhere in the DFW, man, it was just a great day.
Yeah, you talk about that 99-year run really as South Oak Cliff couldn't really put a little more pressure on them. in a lot of ways, they should have been up, 17-0 at that time. And if they certainly 13-0, you have a chance to really push them, get good field position, because that was the whole way they played their first half. And then you had that late touchdown that Duncanville put up, and then the one that gave them a little momentum as well. Interesting spots in that matchups. But yeah, overall, it was certainly an entertaining game. You saw the talent out there. For the most part, well coached in terms of letting the players play, taking advantage of, put them in position to be successful. So great breakdown there, BJ Jones. I wanted to go to you, AD Drew. You were in Atlanta for the Storm. I don't know what's the nickname we're gonna call this. Me SWAC Challenge. I guess it's after dark. As everybody was saying, is that talking about people joking on Twitter that they weren't sure they were gonna make that morning service, that they're gonna push to 12:30, 12 o'clock. Service. Give us your insights in terms of just how everything went down. What was the momentum of that game, and then after that, I'll ask you a follow-up to talk about the matchup itself. But just give me the surrounding, the culture part of what took place there.
It was the red carpet, the show, and the after party. But it was kind of like when you go out to the club and you get there, and somebody does something stupid and it just breaks the momentum of your vibe when you was up there dancing. It's two people arguing over there, two people fighting over there. Now, we didn't have anything like that, but that was just kind of the vibe that you got being there in it. It was a good, interesting game, but it was kind of hard to get into the game because you had a 91-minute delay to start the game. Then you had another about 45-minute delay in the first quarter. So when everybody's finally decided to come back in and get and get to their seats, now you got to clear the stands. And then in the second half, you could actually see the lightning from the stadium, but it's what everybody terms as heat lightning. And NCAA has a rule: if there's a lightning strike within 8 miles of the facility, you got to shut it down for a minimum of 30 minutes. And we was like, "Oh, we go get this game in. Oh, we go get this game in." And everywhere you can hear the press box was like, "Please run the ball. Please run the ball so this clock don't stop. Please continue to run the ball." And you could even see the urgency in the officials, because as things were going, when you would have a stoppage, when a player was hurt, as soon as that player got up on the feet, beep, 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 they were blowing the whistle. All right, everybody else, get back out here. So as soon as he get to that sideline, we're blowing this ready for play. That was the urgency that you could see in the officiating. So it was hard for any team to get any type of momentum in that game. But speaking of momentum, Howard had the momentum early going into the first weather delay. Howard was driving. Howard was driving. Defense was hot. Offense was looking good. And then it's like when they went into the locker room, Howard kind of lost the momentum. And Coach E. Rob just kind of it was like he woke up. It's like, all right, I'm in a real game now. I'm in a college game, because Alabama State looked like garbage before that first weather delay. They came out the first play after the weather delay. They should have had a touchdown, except for the fact that the referee blew the play dead due to encroachment by the defense. Drew up a beautiful play while he was in there. I mean, he had an hour to figure out which play he was going to run, so he didn't outthink himself on that one. And E-Rob got into the referee, was like, "Why did you blow it dead? That should have been a free play." So, but they were able to go ahead and capitalize on that drive. It just took them a little bit longer to capitalize on that drive. And from that point on, Alabama State had the momentum. Howard shot themselves in the foot. Howard left at least 3 touchdowns out there on the board. So just think about the trajectory of this game. The score was only 23-13. You take those and turn those into touchdown. Those 3 possessions I'm talking about into touchdown. We're looking at adding the field goal. We're talking a 24-24 ball game where at 1 o'clock in the morning they can't call the game because you're in a 1 possession game. So there was a lot to be said. Two other quick points. Attention everybody. The SWAC is now back in the challenge. You know, there was a rumor they were considering just dropping the SWAC name out of the challenge and just calling it the BAC challenge because the SWAC had not shown up in the challenge in many a years. And to Mike's point, Mike was talking about the Howard people up in the suites and everything like that. Mike, wrong data point. There were more Alabama State people up in the suites than Howard on the suite level. So
BJ Jones knows a little bit about that Alabama State money. People think them folks ain't got no money in Alabama State.
Yeah, despite the Howard, I guess the Howard people getting the atmosphere, the Alabama State people up there partaking in the air conditioning. That's all I'm gonna say.
I love it. I love it. We'll come back and get your thoughts on D. Davis. I do want to get your thoughts on that. Let's take our first break of the second hour. We'll be right back after this break. We'll get a little more talk on AD's thoughts in regards to the play on the field in that game. He kind of gave you the cultural perspective in that. We'll come back, stick with us. We'll be right back after this break, and I got some more breakdown. I want to get BJ Jones to really analyze that game in itself as well. Stickers will be right back after this first break in the second hour.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
You see, Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. We're never not working. Number 15?
That's my rub.
Ooh, nice.
Never not working.
Never, ever, never, ever not working.
Welcome everybody to Juneau, Alaska.
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders scalp shield technology.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with a little bonus hour here. Extra credit, as they say, a little extra. We won't go to 4 hours, but I want to give you a little extra as we're opening things up this week 0. I'm gonna go back to you, AD Drew, but I'm gonna start with BJ Jones. You heard AD Drew talking about obviously the culture aspects to go there. I wanted to ask you, have you ever experienced playing in the game with a lightning delay?
Yes.
Talk a little bit about how you dealt with that or how the team dealt with that. When did that happen, and give the fans and the listeners a little more in terms of being in the locker room and experiencing that yourself.
Oh man, so dealt with probably one of the games I'm probably the most hype about, and that was going back home. We played Alabama A&M for their homecoming, in 2004. And so that was a big one for me. My mom's alma mater, the alma mater for half of my family. So just going back up there, and right before the game was supposed to start, I think it was supposed to be like a 1:30 start. Game didn't start till about 2:30. We didn't actually get a chance. We warmed up, and then the bottom fell out, and now you just sit and you wait. So you go from high, and then have to come all the way back down, and then now you got to get that adrenaline back pumping. So man, it's not an instant thing. And just think about last night. Howard and Alabama State had pregame meal at 3 p.m. yesterday. That game didn't end to almost.
It was 1:10, but they called it.
It was 1:10 a.m. by the time that game was over, man. That's a long day, man. And man, it takes a lot to keep yourself that motivated and that ready to go for that amount of time. So it's not an easy thing to deal with.
Getting into that, thanks for sharing that insight there. AD Drew, talk to me a little bit about the Howard defense. What were you saying that impressed you about the Howard defense? I know their MVP, that defensive tackle there, he was solid all game long for sure.
Yeah. Howard defense really made your plays. The problem with Howard's defense, despite giving up those 24 points, is the offense didn't help them out. Because the offense, a lot of times, left them with short fields, and when the offense had the ball, there were multiple 3 and outs, and the offense was not able to put up a touchdown until late, which left all the pressure on the defensive side. Now, the defense put pressure on Demetrius Davis, and early it looked like Demetrius Davis was more hype than promise early because of the Howard's defense. But kind of like what BJ said. I guess when they went into the locker room, and it wasn't that natural break that you get at halftime. They went in, and it looked like the Howard defense just got cold and could not come back out and get it going. Now, the one good thing about being at Central Park Stadium is the fact that because it is the old baseball stadium, there is a lot of room to warm up in the portion of the stadium that they are no longer using for the team. Unlike what we may have at some of our HBCU stadiums, where you really have, if you have the field and that's it at the actual stadium, unless you just happen to have your practice facility happens to be adjacent to the stadium. So, these teams had a little bit of an advantage in that, where if this happens in week 3, it may have been a more ragged game, for lack of a better words. But
great point there. DJ Jones, I want to talk to you a little bit about Howard's MVP of that game, Jevin Jackson, defensive lineman. He makes me think of somebody that I was excited about over the years, now a little nervous about, Dimitri Dumas over there. And I see you smiling because, man, I just think that defensive front from Southern is going to be quietly slept on until they smack a couple people in the mouth. But what did you see in Jevin Jackson?
Man, he has a motor. His ability, if you look at it, particularly in the first half, he disrupted the read option. If he didn't make the tackle, he drove the center, whoever was blocking him, back into the backfield. He made a lot of plays, may not have shown up on the stat sheet. And that's what you want from a defensive lineman. He gave Davis fits all night last night. He really came to play. And he's the guy that jumped off the screen for me for Howard.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what he's able to do defensively. If Howard can get some momentum offensively, I think that you're going to see that they are still a team to be reckoned with in the MEAC. Because defensively, I thought they were solid. AD Drew just gave you a breakdown. Before we end this segment in the show, AD Drew, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about the Battle of the Bands, who in a lot of ways had to showcase a lot of this game, particularly with all these stops and breaks. And so they didn't have the post-game battle, but they had that during the breaks. But in terms of halftime, what did you see in halftime? What was your analysis? I know you might not be a band head like some of these people out here. Our man Boom Holly out there will break that down as well. And then I'll chime in and tell you what my son said about the National HBCU Battle of the Band, give you some insights on that here in Houston. But what were your thoughts in terms of the halftime?
Shout out to the bands for doing what they're doing, because just like the football players had to go through it, the bands had to go through it. You know, their body clock, they were an hour and a half, hour 45 later performing. So mentally, they had to get ready to get out there on the field and put on a show for the fans that remained there in the stands for the halftime. Howard came out first, and it may be a cultural thing. Howard's performance to me was a little more laid back. You know, you didn't see some of the normal movements and some of the formations that we're accustomed to seeing with some of our bands here in the South. So maybe that was a little bit of bias on me, because I'm used to seeing the show, and Howard's was more of a performance, if I'm making sense in that analogy. They got out there, hey, great sound, great movement, but it just didn't have the flair that I was used to seeing. Whereas Alabama State it had a lot more flair. And then let's be real, how you gonna top the Honeybees coming to close it out if you were Howard? That's kind of hard to top the Alabama State Honeybees at the end.
Yeah, no doubt. Great point. So you're saying Alabama State did theirs, because when we talk about the marching sport, the way we do the top 10 poll, we got winners and losers. All this fanfare and, cheering, my band look good and get excited. No, they said it's a marching sport. Anything I know, DJ Jones, about the sport, AD Drew, you play a sport, there's a winner and a loser. Other than maybe the matches on soccer, they do have a draw. But generally speaking, when we talk about there's got to be a W and an L. That's what it is. So you're saying Alabama State won that? Well, yesterday we had the National Battle of the Bands. We had 8 programs there: Kentucky State, A&T, obviously the perennial programs, and they showed up and showed out the top 3 programs. I saw Grambling was there. They did well. But if I had to tell you the top 4 I saw there, starting with number 4, Kentucky State continues due to upset. They're small, but they bring it a lot of sound, a lot of pizzazz. They represent. And when you take in all of that, they find a way to sneak in the top 4 and get it done. At number 3, surprising to some, it was Southern. They did their normal job, but the bar is so high that sometimes it's unfair for Southern in terms of the jukebox. I have them at 3. At number 2, sneaking in there was the Storm. They got the house. I think that was a cheat code being in Houston. They did what they did. They opened it up really well. I had a Southern guy that was in the band that was sitting next to me. He even dropped his head a couple of times during the Prairie View show as he was shaking it like, damn, they got us. They got us. So had to give a little credit there. And this is according to Deuce, so take it for what it's worth. My son, as he breaks it down. But Prairie View was 2, really solid. But those top 3, they was close in terms of, but they defeat all the other ones, A&T, as they break them down in terms of what's going on. Number 1, Bethune-Cookman came in there. They did the show, did the music, and it got to a point that they had people vibing in there so much. You got the scene where you see in the stadium where people have up their phone and they turn on their lights. There's a couple of folks at first before the end of the show, that whole side. It was both sides, but you could see the far side, obviously. You had dozens and hundreds, if you would, really, in terms of the light show there. So Bethune-Cookman really brought it, got the energy and got most of the house there. Undoubtedly, they were number 1, bringing it home as they got it done. The Marching Wildcats showed up and showed out, fascinating in so many different ways in terms of what they get done. So that's my analysis. A little bit of cheat code of what you'll see this week. We had the Boulders talk a little bit more about what that looks like in terms of how we're going there. With that being said, let me get the last point in here as we talk about these matchups. Anything that sticks out there that you're looking for next week? What are your top 2 or 3 games that you got your eyes on, AD Drew?
Obviously for me, since I am the SIAC reporter, I'm going to stay with two matchups in the SIAC. First one is going to be Albany State versus Mississippi College. That game will be Saturday, played in Albany, Georgia. This is a game last year that Albany State pretty much put themselves on the radar for everyone in Division II, especially in Super Region 2, with a 24-0 victory over Mississippi College at their place. This is the return game in that home-and-home series. So if Albany State is going to reestablish itself in Super Region 2 and possibly get a higher than a 4 seed, this is step one for Albany State. They're really going to have to do good out of conference because of the lack of respect for the SIAC opponents. We know that they're good, but the pollsters don't respect the rest of the SIAC conference. Also, number 2 for me is going to be Tuskegee Fort Valley. This game will be Sunday, played at Crampton Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama. Storyline right there, victory number 700. Next victory for Tuskegee, which will be Coach Reginald Rufford's first victory as a head coach at Tuskegee, will be number 700 all time for the Golden Tigers, as they are 100 victories clear of anyone else in HBCU football. So that's going to be the storyline. Will it come this week? Will it come next week? Where will it come? Number 700 for Tuskegee.
With that being said, BJ Jones, give me your top 2 or 3 matchups that you're looking for, or even for next week.
Oh man, Stephen F. Austin was ranked number 10 in the country, and they got it laid on them by Jacksonville State on national TV yesterday. But the Lumberjacks got to go to Lorman, Mississippi next week, so it'll be a big opportunity for Alcorn State to make a statement. Not only a statement for Alcorn State, but a statement for the SWAC. So I think that's a big ball game. Labor Day Classic down there at Prairie View. Prairie View and Texas Southern, a game that's near and dear to your heart, Doc. I think that this is a statement game for Texas Southern. I think Prairie View really wants to know what they have. New regime coming in. I think that that's the key matchup, a conference matchup, divisional matchup, on top of being a rivalry. And then there's another conference/divisional matchup on the eastern side. Florida A&M, the Jackson State and the Orange Blossom Classic next Sunday down in Miami Gardens. That's going to be a big one. And if I had to pick another one out of that batch, I would say North Carolina A&T and North Carolina Central in the Dukes Mayo Classic. How do the Aggies look after a down year last year? And can NC Central build on the momentum that they had the latter part of last year? So those are the big 4 matchups that I'm looking forward to.
Great points made there. My son Deuce wants to come in and say who he officially said won the National Battle of the Bands. And see it there. Go ahead and tell the people.
Alabama.
A&M? Yeah. I think he's being nice to his mom. Shout out to the Alabama A&M as the band there. They are solid. They were there. They did a great show. But kudos. We'll release it this week in terms of the marching sport on Thursday. We'll release our polls early Tuesday, give you some more love. So get ready as we do our thing. Great final thoughts by our guest, BJ Jones, 80 Drew. We're going to close it out here. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop, BJ Jones on the Sunday edition. We'll continue moving forward with this, so stick with us. We have another guest. We'll bring in somebody from the MEAC. We're going to give them a chance to get some spotlight as we get into the season so we can have a well-rounded. And you always have the designated hitter, 80 Drew, that comes in and backs clean up in so many different ways to hit it out the park as we get it done. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Mills Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday. Let me give some love before we close out to Brian. I know he's off screen. What were your thoughts in terms of FAMU, North Carolina? Go ahead and tell the people what you think.
So I gotta say, Doc, if you're hearing me, it was a great showing. It was a great showing. Yeah, great showing by Florida A&M, and I think Jackson State better get ready. Better get ready. Here come the Rattlers, baby. We are not dead. That Rattler head will rise up and it's gonna strike. And it's gonna strike and it's gonna strike again, baby.
Oh yeah, perfect way to end it. As you can see what will go on tonight with Brian and AD of the Sports Wrap. BJ Jones, when you gonna start bringing back your show? I know it's close in regards to this football season. We're in it. Give some people some love. Let them know when you're gonna do your thing.
Next Sunday, man, we're going back inside HBCU football. So when you get done listening to Brian and AD Drew, I'm coming right behind them, man. We're going inside HBCU football, man, and we got a full week of games to dive into, man. I'm ready, and I hope you guys are excited because I am.
Catch us every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock, on Sunday morning at 9 before you head off to church service. Make sure you check us off. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Make sure you download my JBN, my BCSN. Make sure you check out again Sports Wrap with Brian and AD. They give you a breakdown of all there is in terms of HBCU sports and the culture as well. BJ Jones, as he's telling you HBCU football, he's going to give you that. Check in the pregame show. You know what we do Tuesday and Thursday, O&G Strike Zone on Wednesday. And then you obviously have the Knights of the Round Table on Monday. We'll continue to give you that HBCU love. Keep an eye on. We got more coming. And then Saturday, we're going to give you our HBCU wrap up in terms of what to think as we get into it. And then, you have the Call Us Brown show as well on Saturday. So all things right here. If you want to get all your insights to HBCU sports news, is right here. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. One on Facebook, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We'll talk with you soon. BJ?
Of course.
AD?
Lecture.
Dismissed.